Mystery time between me and the Indiana Jones franchise. Now listen, growing up, I was Indiana Jones like twice for Halloween because I adored that original trilogy. Those first three movies are A+ materials, and this franchise is adored by so many and regarded as some of their favorite movies of all time. Then there's the fourth one. Kingdom of Crystal Skull is a huge disappointment, and I don't think it's hot garbage. I think it's watchable, but man, is it the worst one. And now finally, the summer of 2023, one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year, got to see an early screening tonight, and I can say this: it's better than A Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
Here's Johnny. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny stars Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and is about archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. From director James Mangold, who brought you Ford vs. Ferrari and Logan, comes the brand new Indiana Jones movie. First time Spielberg has not directed one of these movies, and if you know me, I'm a huge fan of Spielberg. He is my idol. I love that man. He's the reason why I'm going to become a film director one day. And in this movie, I was so excited, and I had a lot of trust in James Mangold because I love a lot of his movies. And I can tell you this movie feels like a great send-off for Harrison Ford. It feels like a nice summer blockbuster. In the end, I will regard it as disappointing, I will say it, but again, it's better than the last one, and that's all I asked for. The biggest praise, of course, is Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones once again, but Phoebe Waller-Bridge in this movie holds her ground, and she works well with Indiana Jones. Their chemistry is really good, and the dynamic, because both of them want the Dial of Destiny, but they both want it for different reasons, and it brings a great dynamic. They both work together very well when they're bickering or trying to outsmart one another. And with the action scenes, they're both just well put together in this movie. And it also works that she is the goddaughter of him, and so he's 80-something. You can tell there's some stunt doubles in this movie, but you gotta give a huge applaud to Harrison Ford because you can tell he likes playing Indy over Han Solo. And in this movie, Indiana Jones is a lot older. He's about to retire. The space race is about to begin in the late 1960s where this movie's set, and it's a huge thing because now the Nazis also want the Dial of Destiny because they're evil and they want to take over and use it for the space race, which I really liked. That's a neat little story. I wish the movie dealt more into that for the villains because they feel very cookie cutter generic, but you do have Mads Mikkelsen as our bad guy. He's good. He's really good. I mean, we all knew that. When I heard he was in this movie, I was like, he's going to be the bad guy? He's the bad guy. He's a good bad guy. He's not going to be a classic villain or whatever, but I do like him in this movie. You also have Boyd Holbrook in this movie as one of the bad henchmen, and he's also very good in the movie. He fits the role. There's some old faces that return in this movie, a few new faces I liked, but overall, I think everyone did a good job in this movie. There is one character, though. It's the character of Teddy. I forget the actor's name, but Teddy in this movie felt like they were trying to do short round, and it did not work, and I did not care for his character, and he did not need to be part of this adventure. I mean, he's fine. He brings a few laughs, a few genuine moments, a few bad dialogue moments, but I just didn't feel like it needed to be in this movie because it felt like they were trying to do short round 2.0 kind of. But again, everyone for the most part is doing their part well, and the movie sounds great. You got that great Lucasfilm sound design, the punching. I love Indiana Jones punch sound effects. It's so raw and stuff like that. It looks great. It sounds great. John Williams' score, it's great to hear it once again. There's a few scenes during the action scenes I really picked up on the notes. I really enjoyed the score. I enjoyed looking at this movie. It has that summer feel. But the thing is, that is all I can really say about this movie. I love the Dial of Destiny. I think it's way better than the alien stuff. But in the end, this movie feels very generic. And that is the biggest shock to me. James Mangold, he's made some great movies. I really feel like anyone could have directed this movie. Prime example this year, John Wick 4. That movie had style and a complete control of just blocking of action scenes. There is some fun action scenes, great sound design in this movie, but the camera work and the blocking doesn't feel anything. This movie just feels like another action movie you would see in the 21st century, another 2023 action movie. That's what it felt like. And that to me is so disappointing, because with Indiana Jones, those first 3 movies, I mean, you can name action scenes that are just iconic and just very practical, because there is a lot of CGI in this movie, and I get it. There's stuff you can do. But then you go and look at examples of other action movies that are using practical effects, going and doing car chases in the actual locations. And when there's a lot of big shots of cars chasing one another, there's a great car chase. Whenever it's like a wide shot, you can tell there's actual effects, like practical effects happening. Then you zoom on into Harrison Ford, who is sitting there in this little bike thing, and it's green screen, and he's jumping off the thing, and it's CGI, and it just felt so soulless. And it's shocking for me to say that. James Mangold, to me, just disappointed me in the directing department. There wasn't flair, there wasn't that fire of Indiana Jones. Heck, I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has a few action scenes that feel more memorable. Like the motorcycle chase in the very beginning of that movie, that felt more practical and memorable than most of the action scenes in this movie. And that's just, it's fun to look at. Like, I saw this movie on a big screen. It was nice to look at. They did a great job with location, this costuming, sound, a lot of just blocking. But there wasn't the Indiana Jones flair, and that to me is so disappointing. And speaking of the disappointment, the length of this movie did not need to be 2.5 hours long. First off, the prologue feels way too long, and you have a CGI Harrison Ford, which for the most part looked good for a young Harrison Ford. They do use his real voice, and it sounds so weird with an old voice and a young Harrison Ford. But the CGI, we haven't got there yet. There's something about the cheeks and the movement of the face. Like, there's just something there. It throws me off. But it looked good. But the prologue, it was good, but it just felt a little long. And it's a 2.5 hour movie, and there are scenes you could easily cut. Like, easily look at this movie and be like, you could cut this, trim this, get rid of this old character. And the movie relies on nostalgia, and I mean, I can't lie to you, when the score hits whatever, and there's nice Harrison Ford lines, I felt the nostalgia, and I was like, yes. But movie feels like it kind of relies on that, and to me, that just, like, even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't rely on just nostalgia. It felt like a new adventure, and they tried something, it just didn't work. This movie, an artifact, cookie cutter villains going after it, Indiana Jones. Oh, and by the way, the ending, it's his last time as Indiana Jones. It was a bittersweet ending. It definitely was like, oh, Harrison Ford, this is how we're gonna end it. But it kind of felt like the last 15 minutes was like, oh yeah, this is his last movie. Let's end his character. Let's do this. But the whole movie never built that. I feel like if they were building more into his retirement and more of his character of leaving this universe, I feel like it would have packed it a lot more. And finally, if I can say anything about this movie, it just doesn't feel like a amazing classic. And I know a lot of people are like, are you looking for the better than the trilogy? No. I went this movie knowing it's not going to be better than the original trilogy. But I can tell you this, it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because of the story itself. An artifact, it felt more like Indiana Jones, not alien sci-fi space stuff. That's what ruined that movie. This movie felt more to the Indiana Jones storyline. I like that. I like Harrison Ford. I like the cast. I like the action. It's entertaining, but it's definitely James Mangold's direction that is the biggest disappointment for me. But in the end, it's a fun watch. It's fine. It's definitely enjoyable. It feels like a generic action movie with Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones for one last time. I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a C+. But if you go and see this movie and you love it, that makes me so happy. Because again, those first 3 movies I love. And so I just sit and look at this franchise and I say, that ending to Last Crusade, going off to the sunset, that was the perfect ending for Indiana Jones. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was disappointing, and this one felt kind of like, hey, let's just do one more. That's what it felt like. And I'm a little disappointed, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I got to see Harrison Ford one last time as the character. I really am. Anyway, guys, if you guys enjoy this very early movie review, let me know down below what is your favorite Indiana Jones movie, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.